And so we are back, guys, with another chapter of Katekyo Hitman REBORN. We are at chapter 126, and this fight officially starts. The Zanzis versus Suna final fight. So now we're at this fight. Not only is Suna and Zanzis going to be facing off against each other, but also the Guardians, right? And you would have thought, okay, since whoever won their respective battles, they shouldn't have to fight. But as we clearly saw from chapter 125, no, that is not the case. In last chapter, we have where every single Guardian, even those who were injured and in the hospital, okay, had to come to this final battle as well, even if they were bedridden. Quite literally bringing the bed with them, bringing the oxygen tank with them, okay? And I'm talking about Lucaria and Lambo. So each Guardian, as we remember, all of them got wristwatches, which also allows them to see, while they're also battling each other, to see the battle between Suna and Zanzis. But there was a twist. So instead of just, going at each other and then retrieving their half rings at the top of the pole that they can use to combine and officially have the ring to themselves, what the Surveiller did, or is more likely Zanzis, I'm not putting nothing past this man at this point, each of the wristwatch had poison which was injected into their bodies. And this poison is going to last for 30 minutes, which is slowly paralyzing them and giving them extreme body pain. And Suna now only has 30 minutes to go while fighting Zanzis, and that means he has to finish his fight with Zanzis pretty quickly if he wants to administer the antidote to his Guardians, which will now leave to who else to die. So now time is of the essence. Suna has to make it quick if he wants to save his Guardians, but at the same time, this leads to the other side completely perishing, or vice versa. So we now have it where now chapter 126, we have where again Zanzis is mocking Suna, saying that you're the same person from last night. We have where now Suna, and might I add, Suna was trash. I mean, y'all have to, I don't think we really put emphasis on this in the fandom and in the community of Reborn, but Suna has many times trash talked his enemies. My boy is standing on business. It's like, bro, I'm here to save my friends, I'm here to protect them, and I quite literally do not want to be here with you, but unfortunately I am. So I'm gonna try to make this fast as quickly as possible, right? So, obviously, the Surveiller is seeing this and they're realizing everything is about to go left. My left, your right, and vice versa. So they quickly told those who are still standing and they're not slowly dying from poison. That means Reborn, Basil, Colonello, Dr. Tramal is there as well. And we also found out in this chapter that Ken and Shikusa are there as well. So they're telling them to go into the observer's box, which is at the back of the school, to watch the fight go down. And it's really a death match more so. I mean, yes, it is a fight, but in Zanz's mind, yeah, this is going to be a death match. This is going to be a bloody one, okay? And you can't really say it's a fight for the Guardians because, yeah, we clearly saw from the cover page and obviously last chapter review, the fight has officially started, and so these two are going off. So we instantly have where Suna is the one that goes on the offensive, okay? He tries to swipe at Zanzis, and Zanzis tries to retaliate by giving him the elbow to the face. Luckily, Suna is able to block that, but of course, Zanzis gives him the boot. He kicks Suna into the building again. Then we have where Suna tries to go back again, tries to punch him, but we do have where Zanzis does capture him, and then he puts his hand in front of Suna's face, and even though you can't really necessarily tell, but the panel shows that it's starting to, the white of the panel looks more brighter. And then he blasts at Suna. Suna is able to evade the blast. But then this is where it was really interesting and demonstrating the type of power that Zanzis has. Because might I add, he threatened to use his power the very first time he saw Suna when the full Vario came to Japan, right? His hands started to glow and he was about to do something to them. In this chapter, we saw exactly what he wanted to do the first time he saw Suna. So that particular panel turned black. It turned black, and then you saw a portion of the building. Might I add, they did mention it was reinforced, so that means they were building back the school buildings that was destroyed, just disintegrate. Okay, it turned black, like there was literally nothing left. Okay, this is where Reborn now states that the flame that Zanzis use is actually quite different to Suna's. Might I add, if you go all the way back to the Kyoko arc, right? And it was the fight between Suna versus Mukuro. When Suna, flashed Mukuro with his flame, Mukuro noted it didn't burn. It just felt very warm, right? It felt very warm, but it didn't burn him. It didn't do anything like a regular flame will do, okay? And the flame that Zanzis used, that Reborn stated, he says it is the flame of wrath, which is vastly different to the Dying Will flame. Ugh, I'm saying flame. So as they explain in it, the flame of wrath, right? As Reborn is saying that the Dying Will flame is like a fingerprint or a voice print. It is unique to each individual, differing in both form and nature. And with Zanza's flame, it is noted that it's actually the rarest of the type of flames that they have within the universe, right? The only other person in the history of Katekyo Hitman Reborn to have the flame of wrath was actually the second Vongola boss. And not only that, the second Vongola boss was noted to be only a barehanded fighter. And it makes sense, like, what's the use of a weapon if I have a flame that can disintegrate anything or anyone that I come across, anyone that gets close to me? No weapon shall form against me, for I am the weapon. Like, come on, right? I can literally melt you. I can turn you into ashes like a regular flame would, but quicker, right? So as they stated, the special characteristic of this flame is its extreme destructive power, which can reduce anything to ashes. Also, this flame was seen only when the second boss was enraged, okay? And right now you can say Zanzis, as much as he's trying to degrade Suna or anything, he's enraged. He's angry right now because he's like, Suna should not be here. This whole situation should have been dealt with from the jump once he got the ring and everything, but he was just entertaining him. So now he's going to show him just how low of a scum he is. So now it's called the Flame of Wrath to differentiate it from the Dying Will frame. So obviously one is more of harmony and the other is pure destruction. And it fits both characters very well to a T. Okay, as we clearly see what characteristics and personality that Zanzis has versus Suna's. So this is again now Zanzis is mocking Suna, but more so the first boss, the person who literally created the Vongola. He's stating that not only does Suna use his gloves to fight, it was also the first boss who used gloves. So now we have to where the very first boss, also known as Suna's ancestor, not only had the same type of flame that he did, but also used the same type of weapon, aka the gloves, to construct his flames. Whereas Zanzis, and I'm not saying well actually I am saying Zanzis, like the second boss, fights barehanded and is able to use the most destructive type of flame, Flame of Wrath. And he's stating that, like, do you know why the first boss travel to Japan. He ran away to Japan simply because he was afraid of what the second boss was able to do. Okay, in other words, he's calling the first Vongola boss a coward. The irony in that, if it was not for him, the Vongola would not exist. But nonetheless, Suna now is just like, he's not bothered by the provocation that Zanzis is using towards him. He's like, okay, you want to test this out. So Suna's starting to gather flames in his hand, and he's like, your flame and my flame. Shall we see which one is stronger? So now we have where Suna starts to fall and he's flying down at a speed. And then we have where Zanzis is gathering up his flame, right? And then one of the most iconic panels, and obviously we saw it in the anime as well as within the third opening, I believe, right? Where both of these two characters literally clashed and they punched, well, Zanzis from ground level and Suna's coming from airborne. They clash, causing like a shockwave, okay? And then all we see is Reborn just smirking and everything, right? Come to find out, once that clash really happened, it was actually Suna's flame, right, that broke through Zanzis' own, and he was able to punch him, right? Give him a good right hook and crash Zanzis into the opposite building. Now we have where, like, you know, obviously Reborn being his teacher, he's like, pat him on the back, okay? Those who are spectating is amazed by this because they didn't even think it was possible for Suna. But we basically have where Reborn is saying that in terms of overall destructive power and overall power in itself, Zanzis obviously is the more experienced, and he is stronger. That's a fact. But what Suna did was actually very smart. So while Zanzis is trying to engulf Suna in like a larger flame to hit him, we have where Suna focused his flame to a singular point and was able to break through that barrier of Zanzis and was able to land that punch that landed him into the building. So because of that, Suna, in terms of the output, won, okay, versus Zanzis. So while that's happening, Suna is now going back again onto the charge to get at Zanzis. He notices something is quite off, so he tries to create a barrier or a wall of flame to protect himself, but something shoots out at him and it breaks through his barrier, his wall of flames, and it hits him, okay? And then this is where, and I even posted it on Twitter like a few hours ago, one of the coolest, coldest panels there is in Katekyo Hitman REBORN, especially considering the type of person Zanzis is. Might I add, I actually really do like Zanzis. He's such a cool character. For a guy that was talking so much, right? Thinking all he needed to use was his hands. He thought his flame of wrath was enough to take on Suna, but he realized that Suna is going to be actually a lot more trouble. It's going to be more trouble than he's worth. So for all that talk about how the first had to run away because he was afraid of the flame of wrath, all he needed was his hands. What good is a weapon? By the end of the chapter, the thing that shot out at Suna and hit him, might I add, Zanzis showed on panel wielding a dual guns, right? And he's like, you scum, you actually made me use a weapon. I didn't even want to use this. Funny enough, this chapter itself was calling out on several of the former bosses within the Vongola, whether it be their flame or it be their weapon. So not only does Suna have the same type of flame and weapon of choice, which is gloves like the first boss, we have where Zanzis has the same flame as the second and the wielding the dual guns as the seventh boss. So he's basically, you know, projecting the Vongola family through his usage of weaponry. Okay, now the fight is escalating again, because like I said, for all the talking that Zanziz has been doing, just openly trying to mock Suna, he realized if he wants to get this over and done quickly, he's going to have to pull out the big guns. No pun intended, but he has to. So on top of using the Flame of Wrath, now we're going to see how he utilizes the same type of weapons that the 7th Vongola boss was able to use, guns. Okay, and if you know anime and manga, guns go crazy in this piece of work, in this piece of media. Okay, so you guys are going to be in for a treat come next chapter to see how does Zanziz use guns in his battle against Suna. Okay, but if you guys are new to the series, of course, also if you are someone that has read and or watched Katekyo Hitman REBORN, of course, no spoilers whatsoever, but if you want to drop the episodes that this chapter was in, then you can do so for others to be able to go watch it themselves if they want to. But guys, do tell me in the comment section below on how you felt about chapter 126. What do you think is going to happen in next chapter in regards to the fight and how far it can go? Also, the fact that none of the Guardians were shown in this chapter, of course, because they're suffering right now. So how badly do you think this situation is going to escalate, in the sense that now Zanziz is basically has summoned 2 of the most dangerous bosses in Vongola history, while Suna is trying his best just now to survive? Like, yes, the training is helping, but it's basically the newcomer versus the experienced. And we're gonna see in chapter 127 of how this can go down for Suna. Okay, the links are in the description box, so you guys go check that out. And I'm Kimi-chan of Anime Legends, and I will see you guys later. Bye.